So it was in Indianapolis.
Okay.
And surprisingly, because there was a field there and I was throwing the football around, and surprisingly, they didn't give me a call because they needed a QB with Daniel Jones going down. So, I mean, that was a bummer to me. Daniel Jones, he'd been playing through the other injury, and you wonder how much this possibly was impacted by that.
Of course.
Your body overcompensates. It stresses other tendons, other ligaments. He goes down with an Achilles, and he knew right away. Non-contact. He knew he was done. This is a team that was in a must-win situation. They were both at the front of the division against the Jacksonville Jaguars. They come up short. He goes out of the game. Riley Leonard, who played quarterback at Notre Dame last year, comes in. He gets a little dinged up as well. Plus, he's a rookie that probably isn't ready to lead this team.
Right.
So what do? Do you sign Taylor Heineke? Do you sign Sam Ehlinger? I was looking at the list of free agent quarterbacks, and it's just a list of journeyman cast-offs. Yeah. Or do you sign 44-year-old grandpa Phillip Rivers?
Yep.
There's your answer.
It is.
Which I kind of thought it was a joke. It was I
know. I put it in your chat, and
so
you didn't
many
believe
fake accounts.
Yeah,
No, I was like, is this for real?
Yeah.
Because I just seen a thing that he did with John Gruden on Barstool, and he was talking about being a granddad, and he's living in Fairhope, Alabama, and he's coaching high school football, and he's living his best life.
Yeah.
I literally thought it was a joke because there's so many fake accounts. I thought you got. And then it was like, oh, he worked out. I was like, that's a cool story. They'll probably see him and just have him in for a visit, but they'll sign somebody else. And then I see that he signed to the practice squad. So I'm like, all right, it's a practice squad. He's probably not going to play this weekend. And then the latest news says he's probably going to start this game as long as he has a good practice today, which is Wednesday, and Thursday, which is tomorrow. He's probably going to start for the Colts. This is one of the wildest stories that we've seen in the last, and we've seen a lot, especially from the Colts.
Yeah, I guess to just take you back to the beginning of what you were talking about, Daniel Jones, man, I totally feel for the guy. You know what I hope? I hope, and I don't know, I'd like to get your opinion on it. Do you think he showed enough where if he's ready in 7 months, a team gives him that deal? Because right now, he kind of went out at his peak, right? He didn't have a chance to really implode, like where they wind up finishing like 8 and 9. So like right now, Daniel Jones had a pretty good year. Like maybe Daniel Jones gets himself a deal. Is it doable or?
I wouldn't.
You wouldn't sign him?
No, I think we talked about this a little bit the last episode. I need to see a little bit more consistency.
Okay.
He'll get a good offer. Like he's not going to play for pennies. I would bet he gets money like Justin Fields got, $20 million.
That's
something
a good,
that's
good
a
payday.
great chunk of change.
Let me ask you a question. Where? I have a theory.
You don't think it'll be with the Colts?
I think it could be with the Colts.
Yeah, I think it could be with the Colts because they already have Anthony Richardson. I don't know what they're going to do with him. Like he's still on the roster. He's hurt too.
Yeah.
I don't know if they move on from that and punt and just consider it a bust. But they might bring back Daniel Jones on kind of a good deal where it's not too expensive. Keep Anthony Richardson. Who knows? Maybe you'll see Phillip Rivers come in for the job too.
And I think you might like co-sign for what I'm going to say. I think they liked him in Minnesota a lot, and I don't think they're sold on J.J. McCarthy.
Oh, yeah.
I think there's a chance he could end up back in Minnesota.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe.
I think J.J. McCarthy it's way too early for the bust.
Yeah.
But I was not a fan of his coming out of Michigan. I just didn't see enough of J.J. McCarthy carrying a team.
Right.
And so I didn't think he was going to be ready for this, and I think he was in way over his head. Maybe he's somebody that can develop down the road, and they threw him to the Wolves too early. But if it was the Vikings and it was me, I would take Daniel Jones 10 times
100%.
over J.J. McCarthy. So maybe they do that. And it's another situation where they have J.J. McCarthy on a rookie deal.
Yeah.
So they're not too invested in him. So that might work out.
All right, and now pertaining to Phillip Rivers, I love this. I heard him talking today. It's so cool because you realize he has like a swath of kids who are like in their 20s all the way to like 6.
Yeah.
So it's cool because he's talking about how like his 20-year-old kids remember him playing at 16, but his 6-year-old kids are like, Daddy, why did you stop playing? Like, and now he gets a chance to kind of give the young generation like the same, ability to watch him play as the older kids did. And that was awesome. Now, pertaining to him playing this week, I don't know if you're familiar. You said he's coaching his son Gunner, right?
Yep.
Did you hear the crazy story about the reason he's able to play this week?
No.
So the story is that he has been running Shane Steichen's offense with the team.
Yep.
So he has like weekly check-ins with Steichen. So I actually think this is probably a big part of the reason Shane Steichen bypassed guys who've been playing the last 5 years and said, listen, man, if he knows 75% of our offense already, that's got to be, and you could say this, you could attest to this as anybody, being brought in as a quarterback, got to be the hardest part of the biggest challenge of being brought in mid-year, learning that offense, right?
Absolutely. That is the advantage that Phillip Rivers had. I saw that. He had a relationship with Shane Steichen from the previous stint, was a quarterback with him, so he was very familiar with the system. that is half the battle. And like, I think they just wanted to see him healthy.
Yeah.
Like, let's see what he looks like. Let's see him throw the football around. As long as he's got something, we need somebody who can execute our system at a high level. And I do think that was a huge leg up. My one of my last workouts in the NFL that I had was with the Baltimore Ravens.
Okay.
They had some quarterback issues. They had guys go down. And it was me and Cordell Stewart.
Nice.
Worked out together.
Stud.
And Jim Fossil, who was my old coach with the Giants, was there on staff. Rick Neuheisel was there on staff as well.
Cool.
Who had coached Cordell Stewart at Colorado. He was the coach when they beat Michigan with the Hail Mary. So we go in there on a Tuesday. That's your day off, right? Yep. Tuesday, and we have this workout. And they were starters down, backups down. They needed somebody for that Sunday.
Okay.
And I worked out and next to Cordell, and I had a great workout. Like, I thought I threw the ball better than him. I thought I executed. Like, I felt like I had a really good workout. Cordell was a little bit erratic, and I was like, oh, this should be my job. But then at the same token, Cordell's relationship with Neuheisel and a system gave him the leg up where they needed somebody who could start that weekend.
Right.
I was inside of me. I was like, I kind of want this opportunity. But I have no idea how I would start with zero familiar with that. I would only be able to run. I'd have a wristband and only be able to run 20 plays.
So
5 or 6 runs, 5 or 6 passes. They all have to be written on and how do I execute them? It would have been a disaster. So it was probably a blessing in disguise that I did not get that one. But that shows you how hard it is to just come in off the street, pick up a system, and on that same week to go out and execute. That's why he's able to do this, because I think most quarterbacks, they would bring him, stash him on the practice squad for a couple weeks, let him learn the verbiage, let him learn the system. They don't have that luxury because they're still clawing for a playoff spot.
Yeah, you remember a couple of years ago, and I think it's one of the most impressive things that I've ever seen a quarterback do. The Rams brought Baker in on like a Thursday night, and he not only played on Sunday, he like led them to. He looked so competent for. And yeah, it was incredible. I mean, that was still that one stuck with me. One of the biggest things I've ever seen. I'm totally with you there, man. I think being able to come in, be effectively able to operate as much of the offense as possible. And yeah, they're live, man. It's not often that it happens like that where a team is going to be live still. They're not. They lost the division lead though, right?
Yep.
So they're in the hunt, but yeah they gotta.
Let's hear from Phillip Rivers, because he had a pretty entertaining press conference. Here he was. Remember, the last time he played was during COVID. Here he is having some fun with the media.
All right. No Zoom. Let's go.
Obviously.
Phil, first of all, welcome back to Indy.
So first thing he noticed is, remember, the last time everyone was Zoom, you couldn't do press, everything was on Zoom, so that was pretty interesting. I sent you guys in the text thread that clip of him. That was it. And I said, did you notice anything? I thought he looked bigger. His face.
Round.
Remember how Big Ben, remember how Roethlisberger would start the season and then he would finish the season and you see his face would get fuller?
Yeah.
I was like, dang. Phillips had a few burgers in him. You know, he's not missed a meal in the last few years since he's been out of the NFL. Well, apparently the media noticed as well, because they asked Phillip, "What are you weighing these days?" And here is his reply.
What do you weigh right now?
Right this second?
Yes.
I'm not sure, man. How about that? That's an honest answer. I want to answer your question a little better on playing weight. Greg, and not what it was when I walked up the field. but then I follow that up with, I ain't never ran away from anybody anyway.
Right.
People say, well, I don't know you're going to be right there. And it's like, will they do that for 16 seconds?
That's pretty funny. And now the media, I mean, he was like, damn, Dave Chappelle up there, the way they were laughing at him. They were so hilarious. I didn't think it was that funny.
Yeah.
But I think everybody's excited to see what he can do. He's a real likable guy.
Definitely.
There are going to be some takes on this one. What do you think Phillip Rivers is able to do?
I think if he plays within himself and doesn't try to, like, you remember how Phillip Rivers used to play? He used to play like a hero, man. I remember him starting that playoff game with a torn ACL. Like, if he does what he can do and understand, like, right now, my primary job is to stay on the field, right? We do have a shot. Let me do what I can do. Let me do it effectively. Let me try not to do too much. We'll keep with the same game plan, right? Run the football. Let him make a couple of throws, some quick game stuff, some basic route tree stuff, and let him go from there. But I think he's right. I don't think he's going to try to escape too much. I think he'll be smart. He'll throw balls away. Won't try to extend plays too much. I mean, you just need him to keep you in the game, sort of like what the Bengals were hoping Flacco did, and sort of what we were talking about Daniel Jones needs to do.
Yes, I've said this a number of times with you.
Mm-hmm.
It has never been easier to play quarterback.
I thought about you right away when you said that.
And that's why I think this is happening.
Yeah.
We saw Joe Flacco earlier throw for 470 yards at the age of 40.
Yeah.
We've seen, rookies come up. And I don't want to knock any rookie, but we're seeing rookies come in and have success earlier than ever before.
Sure.
Early, like throwing for 350 yards, having great games. And I'm not knocking Shador. Other quarterbacks doing it too. Other rookies. Drake May in his second year is ripping up the league. And he's great, but it has never been easier. It's never been easier from a physical standpoint either. Like, I think mentally, he has the edge of knowing it. I will say this, though. I was out of the NFL for 2 years. I had a stint. I played 5 years in the league, and then I played minor league baseball, and I played arena football, and then I was back for 2 more years with the Broncos.
Okay.
One thing that really jumped out to me, 2 years away from the game, because I've heard a lot of people say, well, he's been away from the game for 5 years. How do you do that? The biggest thing for me for Phillip Rivers won't be the physicality. I think he's probably in really good shape. He'll be sore. Don't get me wrong. He's older, and he'll be sore. I think some of the schemes they run, I was away for 2 years, and I saw some new defenses that I hadn't seen.
Right.
They're going to be looks that Phillip Rivers, he will not have time to cram for those. He's going to be concerned about his execution. That's the one thing that I think he could get fooled on some coverages. That's the biggest takeaway that I'll have. And I'll be curious to see what he says. Like, after the game, man, I haven't seen that, cover 3 bang or whatever you want to call the coverage that you saw. I didn't see that zone dog ever. That's a new concept. The game is always changing, always evolving. That, to me, I think is probably going to be the biggest challenge for Phillip Rivers. Not so much learning and executing his system, but recognizing the new defenses they're throwing at him.
Yeah, you know better than anybody. I think, it'll be the callus that's built up from getting hit. Obviously, getting hit is the hardest part. Like, if I'm playing against Phillip Rivers this week, I'm not shying away from a late, give me one roughing the passer. I'm going to pop him one time and see how he reacts. That's always the hardest part. I have to believe, because he does have like college age kids and high school age kids, and he's been around the game still. You like to think he's still pretty plugged in if he's talking to Steichen and he's talking to guys like Gruden. You have to think that he's watching film. These guys, you watch film different. Or you watch football probably different than a regular fan watches football. So he's probably picking up on robbers dropping out of the line, things like that backside that you might not be able to plan for, guys checking in and out of things. I'm sure he's pretty familiar with what's going on, but yeah.
The other thing that jumps out to me is when I see some of Phillip Rivers' highlights, he looks old in those.
Right.
And now, he's coming back after he's been away.
Yeah.
So did you see some of the other names of guys who have started past the age of 44, 45?
I know Testaverde started.
Testaverde did.
Freak.
There was a guy, I don't know if you remember this game, because it was the New York Jets were playing the Atlanta Falcons. You were probably too young
to remember. Tell me what year?
Probably 2000-ish, 99. Steve DeBerg started for the Atlanta Falcons.
Okay.
And the thing that was unique about Steve DeBerg was my rookie season with the New York Giants. He was my quarterback coach. So he was my quarterback coach. He had retired. He had been coaching for a year or two. And he used to work out with us in the offseason. And he still, he looked older. He lived pretty hard. Like, he was not a healthy. He didn't take care of himself. I mean, he had like leather face. He was in the sun all the time. Great dude. I love DeBerg. That's a picture of him right there in that Falcons uniform when I believe he was 45 or 46.
Wow.
When he started one game. And so you know what? He had the itch because he was coaching us, and he used to play catch with me, and I could tell when we were catching, he's like, I could
still do this.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
And so then when they cleaned house with our staff, because he was with Dan Reeves, he was his quarterback coach.
Okay.
The following year, he did not coach anywhere, and he came out of retirement, started one game against the Jets, and he got it was bad. He tripped coming out one time. I think he was 9 of 22 for 113 yards. He looked old. I'll be curious to see if Phillip Rivers can have a fountain of youth moment, or if he looks old.
Well, 4 years is super long. See, I think the 2 years where you are is that sweet spot. Like, a guy like Phillip Rivers was dealing with all sorts of injuries for 15 years. So I think 2 years, that might be the rest you need to kind of come back a little spry and, have that little pep in your step. But 4 years, we're starting to get into crazy territory. You want to know how I felt, how crazy it is? I saw a stat yesterday that said if Phillip Rivers starts and gets into a game this week or is even active, his Hall of Fame clock, which It's going to
5
restart.
years. Yep.
So he was eligible this year, and if he goes into, I think even if he's active or if he plays in a game.
I think if he plays in the game, I think if he's active or plays in the game, but
so
we're
if he's-
expecting him to start, so that clock is going to reset.
Right. So
Yeah.
he's another 5 years down, and he's going to get back into it. So that's how crazy it is. That's how long he's been away.
He
man.
doesn't care.
No.
He knows in 5 years he'll have the opportunity again.
sure.
Who knows? It might even be a better option for him.
And I'm super interested. I always like the idea of being able to see what, when you're away from something for a while, you have a certain appreciation and a certain love for it. Like Phillip Rivers always played the game like he loved it.
Yeah, he
but
does.
playing it as like a 38-year-old who's never stopped versus a 44-year-old who now gets to play in front of the next generation of his kids and sort of like see things from a different viewpoint. I'd love to see when it's all done. Season's over, he's probably not going to come back, right? Maybe he has a monster year and he comes back for a year. But when all is said and done, I'd love to hear him sit back and kind of just. Did you feel any different when you left and it was taken away from you? You start playing minor league ball.
No, I think it's like riding a bike. I think once you get, but I had.
But did you appreciate it more?
Oh,
Were you like, I never thought I was going to be back in the league again, and here I am?
1,000%.
Okay.
So I started on Monday Night Football my first year back. Jake Plummer was hurt. Steve Berline was the backup, got hurt. I started against the New England Patriots.
Okay.
And so I remember sitting down and they had the camera with me and I did a little thing. And there's actually on YouTube, you can find it.
Okay.
And it was Broncos versus Patriots. And I did this little vignette and they had I was sitting there and they asked me that question. And I was telling them how grateful I was for the opportunity and how I noticed the little things.
Monday Night Football?
Yeah, it was insane. And I remember being in a position where when I was playing with the Dragons, I went to Dick's to get cleats.
Yeah.
I had to go back to the New York Giants because they were across the river from the New York Dragons and borrowed a face mask and a helmet and spray painted it the Dragons colors.
Yeah.
I had leftover pads, it was a different situation than playing in the NFL.
Right.
So when all of a sudden I was back in the NFL locker room, you start really being appreciative for things you took for granted. Like, oh, I can get a new pair of shoes every single week.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
It was really cool.
You started a Monday night the first go around a couple times?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. With the Giants,
Cool.
I got a couple starts against the Cowboys.
Gotcha.
Threw Dion a pick six, unfortunately.
On purpose, right? Florida State
That's
on
right.
Florida State crime.
That's